In The Acolyte, Episode 6, Teach Corrupt, we learnt about potential connections between the various characters. I speculated Qimir may have been trained by Vernestra Rwoh when he was a Jedi, and there's an implication he might be connected to Tenebrous or Plagueis. I want to avoid repeating myself, so if you want all of the nitty-gritty on that, go and check out my full episode breakdown and review. But there is another character that no one seems to suspect, that I think is an essential piece of the puzzle that Leslie Headland is trying to present, with just 2 episodes to go. We're introduced to a young Jedi acquaintance of Vernestra, Mog. According to the episode guide on StarWars.com, this guy is not the Padawan of Vernestra, but instead is someone who, quote, works within her office. His full name is Padawan Mog Adana, and something dawned on me on my second rewatch. It's a very strange time in episode 6 of 8 to introduce such a Jedi Padawan who had more than just a minor role. But I think it's deliberate. They want us to focus on Qimir, on Sol, even Vernestra, but this character is important. He comes across as passive, frail, and innocent, but there's evidence he is anything but. A while back, Leslie Headland teased that the series is setting up a secret infiltration of the Jedi Order from within their own ranks. So far, nothing like this has been confirmed. Not a political infiltration, as we see further down the timeline with Hugo Damask and Palpatine, but one within the Jedi Order itself. You guys know that up until this point, I was convinced this was going to be Master Sol. We know he's done some bad things on Brendok. He's about to confess to May, and we suspected he had a darkness within. But what if, just like the Plagueis novel suggests, there are multiple acolytes spread across the galaxy, and one of them has been tasked to infiltrate the Jedi ranks, and is doing so successfully? If Qimir is just the Sith apprentice and not the Sith Master himself, is Mog working for Qimir? Whereas now, Qimir has his eyes set on Osha. It's very possible Mog could be one of these. Someone who might even be in ties with whoever Qimir's Sith Lord is. And you might be wondering, really Meg, this guy? Yes. The reason I say this is because I fully believe the show is setting up a framing of Master Sol for what went down on Kofar. Mog played it very coy, and when they arrived on the forest world, he sees the bodies of Jeki, Yord, some of the other Jedi who fell at the hands of Qimir, and asked what happened, and Vernestra replies by inverting the question, what does he think happened based on what they can deduce? And his assessment of an explosion, and then a single lightsaber wielder quickly becomes an accusation that it was Master Sol. He says this because he wonders who else other than Sol would have such power. This is deliberately naive, a bit too naive, and I don't think it's just innocence. This was very strange. I'm going to tell you why. As I posited in my breakdown, Vernestra might suspect it was Qimir. If she was originally his master, and she knows he turned to the dark side, she's trying to hide it, she might go along with blaming Sol, so it doesn't reflect badly on her that her former Padawan turned to the dark side. But while we've been focusing on Vernestra, we need to look at Mog and question why would he make a pretty insane accusation, and it is certainly insane. Think about it. Padawans and younglings are taught and indoctrinated to respect older members of the Jedi Order and those of senior rank, Jedi Masters, and so on. Just look at the reverence Jeki had for Sol. And I recently reread The Living Force by John Jackson Miller, and aside from Yariel Puth, who, let's be real, was a very goofy Jedi, trainee Jedi like Padawans and younglings would never speak ill of Jedi Masters, let alone accuse them of mass murder or betrayal of the Jedi Code. Now here's the thing. This is either terrible writing and just an awfully written side character this close to the end of season 1, or, and maybe I'm giving it too much credit, a major clue setting up something with Mog. When you really consider this theory, you notice that it's a powerful dismantling tactic. If he's a Sith acolyte working for Qimir, who better to infiltrate than the former master of his master? He knew setting up Sol would be something Vernestra would go along with, considering right from the start, she was afraid of how the Jedi's, quote, political opponents would react if word of what May was doing got out. In this moment, he's acting surprised, using Sol's distress signal and involvement to pin it all on him. all the while making the Jedi look incompetent and defaming one of the Order's strongest masters in the process. It's subtle, but clever, and the Jedi therefore don't suspect the involvement of a Sith. Just look how shocked Vernestra is when Mog asks why Master Sol would do such a thing. That is a very, very serious accusation, and one that Jedi Padawans would not normally make. But watch Vernestra now go along with it. I've said it before, my dear friends, Sol is not going to make it back to Coruscant alive. He'll either be arrested for treason, betrayal of the Jedi Order, or as I suspect, Osha is going to kill him. We're in for a major Jedi cover-up, and Vernestra is not innocent. And like I say guys, this could just be really awful writing, and just a really strange situation of a Jedi Padawan not acting like one, but also at the same time, I just want to put this theory out there because you never know. Now, here's the thing. I was going through the episode guide, and we get to a section about Vernestra Rwoh. There is new concept art which boggles my mind. A younger version of Vern, very similar to concept art we've seen for the High Republic novels that she features in, but I can't believe, based on her established design, this was the final product. It's almost hard to believe. I love Mary Allen's, and if you'd shown me this in isolation a few years ago and told me this was going to be the same species, I would have guaranteed you were joking. From the very first episode that she appeared, I'm disappointed in the way they've made her look. She just doesn't look like a Mary Allen. I know they have differences, I know she's older, but come on. There should be no excuse for this. There are some incredibly talented cosplayers in the fandom who nail the Vernestra look at conventions. And they're fans, not Lucasfilm themselves. They should have taken influence from, I think, Barisofi, Luminara Unduli, because compared to the concepts, Vernestra Rwoh doesn't look anything like you'd expect. It's a minor grievance, but one that really throws me off every time we see her, and there are some fans saying, what if she's the Sith Lord? I'd very much doubt it, but considering how dislikable she's been, you never know. I even saw a theory stating she might be Darth Tenebrous. They might have changed the species for canon from Bith to Mary Allen. I don't know if this would sit well with both Expanded Universe fans and those of the High Republic. Live action has always taken precedence, but that being said, this is not a new character and I'm very surprised they've gone with this. But on a lighter note, the episode guide confirms the planet Qimir and Osha are on, the one with the cortosis vein, is not Octo. So I think it's Boldemnik, but they still refuse to name it. Are they holding out for a major reveal in the next 2 weeks? I guess we'll find out. But one thing we do know is this was filmed in Madeira, Portugal. And so now, my dear friends, as we often do, let's take a look at what various outlets have been saying about this episode. And this was a sentiment reflected by so many fans in the comment section yesterday, across Star Wars social media. These short episodes were a big mistake. This is a tricky one to write about, because the 6th episode of The Acolyte is the most uneventful one yet, though we do get a handful of interesting conversations between masters and pupils. And on the subject of the episode length, Forbes says, I'm left feeling completely underwhelmed. I think the episode lengths are a big problem here. Either they need to be longer and meatier, or Disney should have released them 3 at a time, or all at once. They're not going to do that. I personally enjoy weekly releases, but I do understand this perspective, because we're judging week to week. But for the budget, and I'm sorry to keep rambling on about it, you do expect longer episodes. Almost every episode this season has ended too soon, and each time it's felt kind of rushed and sudden. This episode, following the show's most action-packed and deadly, lost whatever momentum and sense of urgency we've picked up last week. It's all a bit jarring. The parent trap situation, and Sol taking so long to realise, was pretty unnecessary and a waste of time. Why bother with the subterfuge? Why not have Sol just capture May and Qimir capture Osha, and just get right down to business? GameSpot also echoed this. The Acolyte's bite-sized Star Wars episodes are getting really annoying. They can't get a good rhythm going with sitcom-length installments. And it's not a new problem for Star Wars either. The Mandalorian Season 3 suffered from the same fate, and the annoyance comes from the lack of depth. They're hindering exploration the show deserves. We have just 2 episodes remaining, unless both those episodes are a lot longer, and the story starts moving. I do think it's accurate to say a lot of this show has been half-baked, there was a lot of potential, but it does need a lot more time in the oven. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed my theories and the news of today's video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, help us reach 200k subscribers. May the Force be with you, always.